So TRIZOOKA has been a hot topic in the competitive Splatoon scene for a bit now. So today I want to talk about it and fix it from my point of view. I've been using TRIZOOKA since launch, even before it was considered really good, and I can confidently say I know it inside out better than anyone. So Prochara already made a video on this, and the only reason I'm making this video is to talk about it from my point of view. Subscribe for more like this, and let's get into it. So let's talk about why people say Zooka is an issue. Zooka has a massive hitbox, good damage, and a terribly fast startup time. Now that last issue, opinion incoming, that last issue is like saying you can't react to triple splashdown. This might be because I naturally have incredibly fast reaction time, but this doesn't mean it's not an issue. So those are the issues that make it bad to fight, but what makes it bad to use? The hitbox is so unbelievably janky. There's an entire thread on it, with the netcode also contributing a bit. Zooka works inconsistently sometimes. Like because of the hitbox, it can look like your shot goes through someone, which should splat them, but it doesn't because they very narrowly avoided it because the shots spiraled perfectly around the player hitbox. So now let's address each issue and give a viable fix for each from the point of view of me, who plays Zooka primarily and competitively, and also works on video game development industry. So the first issue is the massive hitbox. So the first thing I want to do is take the hitboxes, since each of the 3 shots have their own individual hitbox, and make it so that there isn't a gap in between the shots. This will fix inconsistencies with the shots spiraling around players. I'm also going to slightly reduce the size of the fall off hitbox so it'll stop hitting behind walls. The next aspect is the damage. Now the fall off damage is okay in my opinion, but it's the direct damage that I'm going to touch on. So I'm going to reduce the damage from 220 to 180. Suction Bomb got this nerf a while back too. The reason I'm doing this is so that it doesn't one-shot spawn armor anymore, because it's just unfair. It has a ton of range and a massive hitbox, so it's only fair. Instead of just dying in spawn, you'll lose your spawn armor and take 80 spill damage. Even I will admit, it is really annoying. So next is the startup. This is a quick one. Even though I don't think using your special to get a cheap kill by testing your opponent's reflexes is a good strategy, because now you have to figure out what to do with the other 2 shots and your bad positioning and vulnerability. It still needs a nerf though. So I'm going to give it a fairly harsh startup nerf from 0.25 seconds to 0.75. Now you have plenty of time to react and you can stop complaining. Anyways, now that we're done with that, let's move to the fixes, buffs, and reworks. So I think the end lag after shooting could be lessened a little bit because of how vulnerable it is to bombs. A lot of people are going to disagree with this buff, but I feel like you're just way too vulnerable after shooting one shot and waiting to shoot the next one. So next, I'm going to make it so that the hitbox is at its full size immediately after leaving the Zooka. This is because it struggles to defend itself when it's being rushed down, because it just paints over the enemy when they're shot directly at their feet instead of splatting them. So to balance this out, I'm going to have one more nerf. I'm going to increase the delay between shots by a little bit so that you have more time to deal with it before it shoots the next shot. So I'll increase the base duration from 6 seconds to 10 seconds. And one more nerf actually, instead of the Zooka retaining its charge upon dying during the special, you'll lose all your charge after being splatted, so it's less spammy. But cooler effects aren't affected because that's a cooler problem. So now I want to change the sound of the special. It should have a distinct sound when a teammate activates it and when an enemy activates it, because sometimes it gets confusing. That was a quick rework section because I think the special has a good enough identity the way it is. Now finally, if none of this happens, here are some tips for fighting Zooka. 1. Stay out of the line of fire. It's really easy to do so because of the sheer size of the special. If you're in the line of fire, even if you're hiding behind cover, it's really easy to get hit by the special on purpose or by accident. Which brings me to 2, staying in one spot is never a good idea. The Zooka user is not going to be firing in the same spot each time. Ideally, they'll be shooting different locations each time to cover more space. You can also imply the previous tip to this and move to the opposite direction the user is shooting. The third tip I have is if you can't reposition because it'll be predictable or you don't have the space, just cling to a wall. Don't hold a squid search because then you'll be exposed, but you're harder to hit on a wall than on the floor. The fourth and final tip is knowing how to deal with the special. Zooka is good at long range, so if you're far from it, take cover at a nearby wall, and if you're near the user, outmaneuver them and rush them down, especially if you have a fast killing weapon. Because of the close range hitbox inconsistencies, the user will have a hard time hitting you when you're closer to them. So that's all I got. The goal of this video was to fix Zooka's major issues without making it a terrible special, and just help people with fighting it overall. Subscribe if you want Zooka to get fixed too, and have a good one.